Hello and welcome to my channel, Soulful Spinning. This is my channel on YouTube where I share my creative forays into the fiber crafts, mainly knitting and spinning, some weaving and some crochet as well. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as the Soulful Spinner, though I'm most active on Instagram. You can also email me at soulfulspinning@gmail.com if you'd like to reach out. So I hope this finds you well. Today is the 6th of January, 2023. And yes, it's the official end of the holiday season for me. It's January 6th. So Merry Christmas if you're on the Gregorian calendar, and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for checking me out if this is your first time here, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. At the end, I want to talk a little bit about the reflections I had in my last episode and some of the feedback I got in the comments, and continue the discussion on making and time management and the lure of the new. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the winter breed study. My breed study for this week is the Hill Radnor, which is another one of the Welsh mountain and hill family members. I have one hand spun mitten that I'm going to share with you that is tied up with a book that I'm going to review. I'll give you a quick update on my Lopi sweater, and then close at the end with some reflections. So let's get started. So I bought this 12 breed sampler from Hearthside Fibers a little before Christmas, and I got an extra, got a Black Welsh Mountain. So this week we're going to look at the Hill Radnor breed. So what about the Hill Radnor? So the Hill Radnor breed is from Central Wales. And I wanted to show you this book, which you guys are all familiar with, you know, the Fleece and Fiber Source book. But a couple of new things sort of I discovered about the book is how it is set up. So the Welsh Mountain family here, show you is right here. All right, so that's the family of sheep from the hills and mountains of Wales. And then in the back, which I think is really neat, she's got a map. Deb Robeson and Carol Acarias have a map, and it shows you where the breeds are located. So here we are. Here's the Hill Radnor right there in the center of Wales. So I thought that was super neat. So it's in Central Wales. There's not much written reference about the breed. It's from an isolated rural area. It was likely developed from selection within the region with few or no outside additions. It's similar to other Welsh mountain breeds. It's a little bit larger and slightly finer. So in this book, she says that the Hill Radnor and the Black Welsh Mountain are the two fleeces that most hand spinners desire because they're on the finer side, and they're very dense, and they provide a really nice fleece to work with. I read somewhere that it was also known as the Radnor tan face because the sheep have tan faces. Breed study was formed in 1955 or thereabouts, I believe. So there's not a whole lot of information about the Hill Radnor, but I did find the Breed Society and a couple other helpful websites that gave me some information about the breed. So hopefully I have shown you a couple of pictures of these animals. I just heard from a viewer yesterday from the area, and she says that she works with Hill Radnor and Black Welsh Mountain from fleece from shepherds in her region, and she says when she lays it out, it's like a pelt. So it's a dense, crisp hand. It's firm. Mine was creamy white, my sample, and I'll show you what I've done with this little sample. So the samples that I'm getting are already commercially prepared. So here is I'm making a little tag. This is what I have left of the 25 grams that I spindle spun. Before I washed it, the fiber had a very, I would say like kind of a stiff quality. What I'm doing with these is I'm winding a center pole ball on my ball winder, and then I'm just plying from the inside and the outside. And what I noticed is that the fiber, it was just, the singles stayed very structured. You know, they didn't bend a lot, and it didn't appear to have a lot of elasticity as I was working with the fiber. I mean, that may be because it was combed, commercially combed, and kind of ironed out. But after I washed it, it became very similar to the Black Welsh Mountain, which I talked about last week. Let's see if I have that sample. If you didn't catch that episode here. So yeah, so here's the Black Welsh Mountain, and here's the Hill Radnor, and they both have a very similar handle. I would say the Black Welsh Mountain slightly finer in my sample. Of course, it depends on the fleece you're going to get. So I'd love to work from some raw locks just to compare it with what I received in the packet, but I did enjoy the spin quite a bit, actually. So as usual, my MO for this is spindle spin the fiber. I'm using drop spindles, suspended spindles, applying from the inside and the outside, getting my little sample, and then knitting it into a swatch. And here is my swatch. So this is off the blocking mat. I didn't wash it, but I just gave it a steam block. And I compare it with this one here. I'm happy to say it was the same size as the Black Welsh Mountain swatch. So here it is. So my sample had a little bit of Kemp, which are these kind of stiffer fibers that stick out. But I found for the most part as I spun, they fell out. And then here in the knitting, I can still see a few, but for the most part, they're gone. So yeah, I really enjoyed the spin. Both of these wools, there's something, I don't know, sort of, I get a sort of an old world feeling. Like when I feel these, I think this is the fiber that people traditionally spun and turned into, you know, woven cloth, outerwear, carpetry. It just has sort of that old-fashioned woolly wool, woolly wool feeling, and it just makes me want to make a traditional garment that I think would last forever. It would just be real sturdy, you know, clothes that last for a lifetime, which we don't really have nowadays. You know, we're pretty buy and get the latest fashion, etc. But you know, there's something very timeless about this fiber. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's yeah, so what else can I say? Let me see what else she has to say about the Black Welsh, the Hill Radnor breed. The boys have horns. The girls do not. Let me show you what she has in here. Hill Radnor. Here's the Hill. Was only one page, and here's the picture from the Fleece and Fiber Source book. You can see it looks like a very dense fleece. Staple length 2 to 6 inches. Mine was about 4 to 5 inches. The micron is 27 to 33, which puts it at that, you know, upper medium. I think upper medium range. I didn't have a chance to work with it from the locks, but it says the mysterious Hill Radnor, and had been recognized locally for many centuries in central Wales, yet there's a real dearth of written reference. So yeah, so if you've spun Hill Radnor, I'd love to hear your impressions. I believe the woolen spinning community did a color and breed study, and they focused on Radnor just recently. So if you spun Radnor, or if you know about the breed, I'd love to hear your feelings on that. So yeah, so next up is the down family, which I'm going to talk about next week. And hopefully by the end of this, I'll have 13 squares that I can start seaming together into a blanket. I got a great suggestion from a viewer who did something similar with the Tin Can Knits Vivid pattern, and she just took a text tile marker and fabric twill tape, and she sewed a label on the back of each square so she knew what it was, which is just brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? So yeah, so that's my breed study. And I'm really enjoying it, and I'm learning a lot of history and about the fiber at the same time. Next up is my mittens. So last week I gave you a little teaser about this book. This is Saltwater Mittens by Christine LeGrow and Shirley A. Scott. And these ladies, one of them is a native Newfoundlander, and the other one was a transplant to the island. And as a matter of fact, I found an interview that Andrea did on the Fruity Knitting podcast. He interviewed these two delightful ladies and talk a lot about the book and the knitting traditions of the region. So this is the book that I actually made myself. I'm almost done. So the ladies were telling us in the book that the people that lived in Newfoundland, you know, they had rough weather, and they had sheep that were on the, you know, rough side, and they made do with a lot of hand spun. They did they made mittens, hats, vamps, which they're like slippers you wear over your socks, and they made them out of hand spun. Their pattern calls for the Briggs & Little line of yarn, which is a very affordable yarn, and comes in, I think, 3 different weights. But I thought, true to the traditions of that region, I would pull out a couple of hand-spun skeins I had in my stash. So this one is, whoopsie, sorry about the microphone. Let me make sure it's still, yeah, I think it's okay. So this is Romney that I combed and spun in a worsted style some time ago. And then this is a Bertzkit, which is like an oatmeal colored Shetland that I spun from some roving I got from Walnut Springs Farm. And so gray and white, I think, were 2 of the traditional colors that they use in Newfoundland, which I had to look up the pronunciation. And here's my mitten. Here's my mitten. It hasn't been washed yet, and of course I don't have the thumb. But the mittens, for the most part, have some sort of diamond motif here on the front. And then the rest of the mitten is knit in a salt and pepper, you know, just one dark, one light. And I just finished this yesterday. It's got quite a long cuff. There's a quote from the book that I thought was really, really funny. And she said that a skimpy mitten is an unloved mitten, no matter how beautiful. And so she was talking about the length of the cuff here, or the wrist. So I think I did 27 rounds here. And you can do a variety of stripe combinations. I learned something new. I did a jogless join. They have a little technique in there so you don't get that little blip. And so yeah, I've got the right mitten, and this afternoon I'm going to go ahead and cast on the second one. So super warm actually. My hands are quite toasty in here already. So yeah, pretty excited about using my hand spun in a project. I was thinking, oh, I need some Briggs and Little yarn because that's what they used in the book. And then as I read, no, the ladies in Newfoundland would use hand spun. And that's what I'm doing too. So yeah, highly recommend the book. There's a lot of really interesting information about the region and really cute patterns, as you can see from the front. There, get the glare off of there. I'm interested in making just regular mittens and not what they call the trigger mitten, which is, you know, they do an extra, they just do the one finger so that people could more easily work outside, you know, chopping wood, gutting fish or whatever. They would have an extra finger and then the thumb, and the rest of it would be just like a regular mitten. Woolen mittens have long been a Newfoundlander's best friend. In a quirky climate of freeze, thaw, blow, and drizzle, good mittens made all tasks easier. To split birch, hammer a nail, gut a fish, draw water, hang clothes, shoot a seabird, or snare a rabbit. Social life, too, always required the finest mittens and gloves, and this continues today. So, yeah, that's the first one I make. Oh, the name of the pattern. I forgot to mention that. This one is called the Mummer's Mitts. And I picked that one because she says it's one of the easiest ones in the book. I'm all for that, easy. Here it is. And because of the tradition of mummers. So mummering is a venerable Newfoundland tradition, filling with merriment the cold, dark nights between Boxing Day and Old Christmas Day, which actually is today, the 6th of January. In its original form, this ancient custom saw wandering bands of heavily disguised mummers playing impromptu and unbidden visits to homes in the community, begging food and drink in exchange for music and dance. This colorful mitten features a snug fit, a slightly rounded top, and a thumb gusset outlined in light stitches. So there it is in red and white. So yeah, I'm trying to focus more on knitting things and making things that I'll actually need and use, because I think I just sort of jump in and make things that I don't know if I really need them, but I need a new pair of mittens for sure for dog walking and snow shoveling and all that good winter stuff here. So a couple of, let me just check my notes here. Yeah, let me give you an update on my Lopi sweater, and then we'll talk about a couple other books. One that was on my bookshelf for a while and one that I just received in the mail. So progress on my Lopi. I guess I'm kind of craving traditional knits. I didn't learn how to knit until I was 50 years old. So I didn't grow up knitting, and I don't have any knitting traditions in my family, so no one in my family knits. And so it's definitely something that I've come to late in life, and you know, I feel like I have a lot of catching up to do. I'm really envious of those people that have knit. They've knit so long they don't remember learning how to knit. You know, I think that's really neat. So anyway, I digress. Here is the body, which I finished. I'll put the pattern name here on the screen. I don't think I could pronounce it anyway. I've got my 2 sleeves completed. There's one, and there's the other one. And so this afternoon, I'm going to lay it on the kitchen table, and I'm going to do the connection, you know, where you have your body and then the 2 sleeves, and then I'm going to work on the yoke. So hopefully by next Friday when I record again, I'll have it done. And hopefully it'll be cold enough to take some pictures outside. So yeah, I'm having fun working on that and making this out of Plutolopi. These two beautiful shades here. This is just the creamy white, and then this is like rose heather. All right, I guess this is sort of an acquisitions section. I did receive a book in the mail. I think there's a theme here. Color work and traditional mittens and, you know, traditional ways, traditional sheep breeds. I'm all about all that stuff. So this is the book I just got from the library, not from the library, I got it from Amazon. I'm trying to get this video recorded before my husband comes home from work, because for some reason when he's home, I just can't record. I feel like self-conscious or something. You other podcasters out there, do you feel the same way? It's just silliness. I don't know why, but. So this is a Norwegian Knitting Designs 90 years later, a new look at the classic collections of Scandinavian motifs and patterns. And I think Arnie and Carlos recommend this book. And it's Andersen Seborn Bern, Timeless and Beloved Norwegian Knitting Patterns, first published in 1929 and then in English in 1952, has been a guiding light and a source of inspiration for knitters around the world for decades. Now working from, I think it's Burns, B-O-H-N-S, original set of charts, talented knitwear designer Wenche Rold has created brilliant, vividly rejuvenated patterns for everything from wrist warmers to sweaters, mittens to baby blankets for children and adults. So there's a treasure inside here. Inside here is this reproduction of this book. Is that not the coolest thing? I was a little worried because some of the reviewers on Amazon said that they didn't get the little book that was supposed to be inside. But yeah, so it's got all the charts and black and white pictures. Look at that. That's amazing. So that fits in the side here. It's just really cute, but look at the inside. It's got these paper on the inside. It's like a wallpaper. And oh my gosh, I mean, you just open it up and you're just like, oh, I want to make that. Those slippers. Now this color works much finer than, you know, the mittens I'm working here. I think the authors of the Saltwater Mittens book said that, of course, the Newfoundlanders were influenced by the British and the Scandinavian designs, but they sort of made them their own. And especially this characteristic of making the top just salt and pepper pattern, rather than here in these patterns, you have the pattern going all the way up to the tip of the mitten. So I'm really excited about diving in to some of these patterns in here. There's some children's patterns here. Beautiful color photographs. Here's another little kid jumper. My God, so cute. I don't have any babies to knit for, but a lot of children's things and just beautiful. Like, look at this picture here. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, just beautiful. Yeah, so I'm thinking I could do this one. That one doesn't look too hard to make. Yeah, so I thought this was one that was definitely worth getting. I'm just trying to be selective in my purchases, but I think that this book's going to be very useful. Yeah, so the other book that I wanted to mention just briefly is this book here, Knitting with Two Colors. And this is by Schoolhouse Press. This is Meg Swanson and Amy Detchen. Forgive my mispronunciations of all the words, but Meg Swanson is Elizabeth Zimmerman's daughter, And this is Techniques for Stranded Knitting and Designing Color Pattern Garments. And I pulled this off my shelf because she has some information in here about how to catch floats. Because in the mitten, there was a couple of places where there were like 5 stitches of one color, and I wanted to catch the other color sort of somewhere in the middle. And she's got excellent instructions in here about trapping the wool. So yeah, oops, I got a glare there from the window. So what else has been going on here? Well, I just got a beautiful gift from actually a friend I made through the channel. And that is the purpose of my channel, is just to connect with other knitters and makers. I'm not monetized. I don't have anything to sell. I don't produce anything. I just make the content just because it's fun to share and to read comments and just feel like, you know, making connections with the wider community. But one of the friends I made, her name is Doro, and Doro sent me this beautiful Polish pottery mug, not a mug. Yes, this does not look like a mug. This is a yarn bowl. Doro immigrated from Poland many years ago, decades ago, and she sent this to me as a gift. And I just opened it up and I just, isn't it pretty? So beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Doro, if you're watching. Right now I'm just keeping my little spindle spinning project in it. But isn't it lovely? So yeah, I'll treasure this. This is so, so lovely. So thank you again. Yeah, so she sent me that. I was just so totally unexpected and excited. So yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty short episode. So last week I talked about, you know, the New Year's resolutions and people stash downing and the no buy of 2023 and finishing up everything. And then at the same time, you know, all the things that people are going to knit. I'm going to make 12 sweaters and, you know, 40 pairs of socks, etc., etc. And I totally get sucked into that, like, oh, I want to be part of the cool kids club, you know. I want to knit everything else that everybody else is knitting. And the fact of the matter is I don't have, A, the time to make all those things, and B, the need. I'm sort of someone who buys something of good quality and then just wears it forever. Like, for example, this blouse here, it's a silk blouse I bought probably 5 years ago, and I wear it all the time. I have a couple of commercial cardigans that I purchased out of good material, and I've had them for 10 years. Like, I just wear and wear and wear my clothes. And I don't really have a need for 12 sweaters and 20 cardigans. You know, I do have a need for certain basic kinds of garments. And I just feel like I really got in touch with that feeling of excess. Like, you know, I have to have all the things and I have to make everything that everybody else is doing, and, you know, just really getting sucked into that, you know, let's get on that bandwagon and knit that new pattern. So I'm finding myself sort of reflecting on my own practices, my own, you know, tendencies to be a magpie and collect things. On one hand, I want to support shepherds and hand dyers and makers and so on, but on the other hand, I just feel like it becomes sort of a over-the-top, excessive consumerism kind of thing. Yeah. And then the other thing is the idea of time and productivity and what one can accomplish in a lifetime. So one of my viewers in particular mentioned a book called 4,000 Weeks, I think. Yeah, 4,000 Weeks. And it's about the lifespan of a human being if you live till you're 80 years old. Like, we don't have all the time in the world to do everything. So I didn't buy the book. I used my library. My library has this feature where you can get audiobooks and some books online for just like borrowing them. So I'm listening to the book, and it's about the myth of sort of time management, multitasking, productivity, and just realizing that, you know, we have limited time. All of us do. And you have to decide what's important. What is it that you are going to spend your time on? My viewer recommended the book. She said it was a game changer for her, and she I won't say her name, but if you go back to my last video and read through the comments, there was so many thoughtful comments in there. I'm just going to go back and read them again and again. It gave me a lot of insight into people's crafting, and this particular viewer mentioned the book, and so I'm listening to it on audio format. But the reader, who's the author, he reads really quickly, which is kind of ironic because it's about time management. But, you know, and I don't really like audiobooks that much. I like to have control over the pace at which I'm reading something. But I'll give you more, have more reflections on that book next week. So, yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to talk about today, friends. I've been, of course, spindle spinning my 12 days of Christmas spin from Inglenook Fibers. This is day 6, so you can see I'm quite a bit behind, as they say, but I'm enjoying that spin. And this is a lady out of Belgium, and it's Pia Knits, and she is very calm, very easy to listen to. I think her native language is Dutch, but she does the podcast in English. And she's a piano teacher in Belgium, and she plays the piano at the beginning of her some of her videos. And she is so easy to listen to and very creative. She uses a lot of quotes from inspirational quotes about creativity, and she self-drafts a lot of the things that she makes. She doesn't use a pattern, which I think was more common in the old times, that people would just know some basic ways, the mathematics of a basic jumper, and then they would just design their own or self-draft the pattern. And I think a lot of people still do that. But for a lot of us here, especially in the States, I feel like we tend to be pattern followers. But she has like one of her episodes, she goes into depth about Holskarn and how she swatched for Holskarn in different combinations. And she made this huge swatch, and then she knit this beautiful jumper out of the yarn, and she just made up the pattern on her own. So her name is Pia, and if you want just a very relaxing, quiet video to listen to while you're doing something, I highly recommend her channel. She has, I think she has maybe a couple hundred subscribers, so if you could go over there and give her a like and a subscribe, that would be great. And if you have a channel that you really is giving you a lot of joy, if you could mention that in the comments below, we could give shout outs to those makers next week. There are a gazillion podcasters and friends out there making videos, which I think is amazing because there's always room for more. And so if you're thinking of making a video, please do so and let me know, because I will be one of your first subscribers. All right, I think I've kept you long enough here. I will talk to you again next week when I talk about Shropshire. So I'm moving out of the Wales, central Wales and the mountains of Wales to the Downs of England, and we're going to talk about Shropshire, and that's my next breed. So until then, friends, happy knitting, happy spinning, and we'll see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.